can taste you. I can taste you. I can taste you.
Hello, everybody. Welcome. Hello. Thanks, everyone. Sorry about the delay getting started. It's great to see so many of you here. We've got so many of you who had to put an extra table out, so thank you. Apologies for the delay getting started. So, welcome to the station. I'm Mark, Chief Executive here at Creative Youth Network. We're delighted to be here for tonight's event, which is the latest in Creative Youth Network's regular series of events called We the 33. So, what is We the 33? Well, 33% of Bristol's population is under the age of 25, but we know that they get way less than their share of public debate airtime and decision-making authority. And tonight's event is part of how we put that right. Tonight is about listening to young people. Those of us who are older or in decision-making roles, we're here, first of all, to listen, to take notice of what young people have told us, and to act on it afterwards, including in the decisions we make in our work roles and home lives. So where regular conferences and workshops have keynote speakers, this is different. The adults and decision makers in the room this evening are here as keynote listeners. So without further ado, I'm going to stop talking and start listening. Over to the important people, the young people. I'm delighted to introduce Dasha, who will tell you what we've got in store for tonight's event.
Hi, I'm Dasha. Just to say a little bit about myself, I'm currently studying biology, art and psychology at sixth form. In my free time, I enjoy hiking and listening to music. I volunteer as a South Gloucestershire Young Ambassador with Creative Youth Network. I'm also on the youth board at South Gloucester Council, and I work with Barnardo's interviewing new staff. I recently delivered a petition to 10 Downing Street campaigning for free school meals for all primary school children. I'm here today because I think mental health is a really important topic and services should be listening to young people to improve them and provide better support. The general plan for this evening is we'll do some group discussion activities. This is a heavy topic and there will be mentions of self-harm and suicide. Look after yourselves, and if you need to take a break, then there is a quiet room behind the stage where you can go and chat with a youth worker if you need to. On your table, there will be some other young people and youth workers to support you through the activities, as well as decision makers from across Bristol and South Gloucestershire who are here to listen to your ideas. We will also hear from some young people about their experiences and ideas, as well as from Kevin Sweeney from South Gloucestershire Council and Colin Bradbury from the Integrated Care Board about what they have heard from you today. A bit of housekeeping: we don't have any fire drills scheduled for today, so if you hear a fire alarm, please evacuate through the nearest fire exit. Feel free to take a comfort break at any point throughout the event. Toilets, which are gender neutral, are just through the doors at the back of the room and to the right. We also have the green room as a designated quiet space if you need a break. Please remember that you are here to listen and learn from the others around you. All of the young people here today have taken the time and emotional effort to come here and talk about their experiences. We know that you will value that and give it the respect that it deserves. There will be photos taken of the event this evening. We won't take photos of anyone who hasn't given their consent for this. And you should all have been given wristbands at the door so that our photographer is aware of this. All of our speeches will be live streamed and recorded to share more widely after the event. Only the speakers will be on camera and not the rest of us, and any discussions won't be recorded. All of our speeches tonight are also being signed in BSL by Izzy, a member of our Youth Voice panel. Izzy is now going to teach us a couple of signs relevant to our discussions tonight. She will show you the sign and then we will all try doing the sign ourselves. The first sign is mental health. Better services. Young people. We will now do our first discussion activity together in our table groups. We want you to design the best mental health support for young people that we could provide. Imagine you had all the money in the world and no restrictions. What would it look like? There is paper, pens, and plasticine on your tables, and some questions to help you do this. The 3 tables nearest to the door will go through to the engine room to complete this activity. AJ, Siam, and Adam will show you where to go. You have 15 minutes. Our first speaker is Precious, who will share a poem about mental health with us.
Okay, can everyone hear me? Great, thank you. Okay, so, hello, my name is Precious. I'm a spoken word poet, and today I'll be doing a poem called My House. So this poem is about where I live, so I hope you guys enjoy it. This is called My House. You live most of your life inside of your head. Make sure it's a nice place to be. Let me tell you about where I live. When you walk in, it's like a museum, where thoughts and memories are hundreds of tabs left open that I need to start deleting. You'll see events outside of my control dangling from the ceiling. My mind is just a revolving door that people pass through without any entry fee. Guests that just come in and trash the place without paying any rent or buying any groceries. I treat my mirror like I'm speed dating, wondering what new face I'm gonna see tonight. Maybe this time I'll meet someone I actually like. See, my relationships last just as long as my favorite meal. I'm tired of introducing new people to old wounds that haven't healed. Every guy I see seems to be allergic to commitment. They take me on dates to amusement parks to ride emotional roller coasters, and they're the only ones having fun. I've tried so many flavors of rejection that it's become an acquired taste, and a talking stage is just a junction of a road headed to nowhere where both traffic lights and messages are stuck on red. In my room, I have a closet. It's full of hand-me-down traumas, like childhood abuse, emotional neglect. I wish I could undress from these unaddressed issues, but I hate bumping into the truth. So instead, I hide under an umbrella of denial so that way I don't get soaked with reality. I want a better life, but I gotta pay these bills called fear and anxiety, and stress is the rucksack I carry everywhere I go, to every meeting, to every room. Today, I'm wearing some oversized trust issues. But then again, how could I expect honesty from people who lie to themselves, who talk behind their own backs? And even after a long day of acting like I'm happy, I gotta go backstage and deal with depression, the partner I hate coming home to. It's always a fight. It's always something I didn't do right, or should have done, or shouldn't have done. I even learned how to polish my smile until it looks like a real one. I try to explain how I'm feeling, but everything gets lost in translation, and everyone thinks I'm just seeking attention. So I lose myself in a sea of people pleasing, hoping one day someone will come and rescue me. I even have my own private cinema that shows me getting beat up by an army of very, very loud mistakes. And I sit back in regret as I realize my name is the only one in the credits. Now my past has bought the mortgage. I locked myself out of my peace, and I've forgotten the address of my happiness. So now you know where I live. Now tell me, would you ever visit? Thank you.
Our next speaker is Charlie, who from the Youth Voice panel, who will read us a poem that Izzy wrote about mental health.
Poem by Izzy. Storm in my head. What is this? This is a swirling storm. I can't get up. My friend's gone a crying flood. I can't stop. Where have I gone? Where's all my happiness? Where has everything gone? What's this all over me? How do I get out of here? Everything is so loud. I can't see straight. I can't walk straight. I feel dizzy. Help. Someone. Finally, someone to help. No, it didn't work. Who made me get stuck in this cycle every night, watching the clock tick and tick, not tired? Help me, someone. What are these voices around my head? Don't eat it. Falling onto my knees, crying. Yeah, I need someone to revive me.
Thank you everyone for all of your discussions so far. There are 3 question and suggestion boxes in the room. These are for you to put any thoughts, ideas and questions in about mental health support for young people. This is anonymous and we will use these questions for our final activity at the end of the evening. We are going to have a quick break now for food and drinks at the back of the room and a chance for you to put suggestions in the box. You have 20 minutes. Charlie will now come and speak to us about their experiences of mental health services.
Hi, my name is Charlie Lane. My pronouns are they, them. I'm very passionate about the mental health and the mental health industry, especially when it comes to young people. People are often ignored and patronized in the psychiatric setting. Their needs are often left unmet due to them being told they are exaggerating, making things up. The mental health field is extremely problematic, and I aim to change that through my words and actions. I seek to educate people wherever I can, whether that be through informing others of accommodations to help them with mental health issues, or informing practitioners on disorders that are becoming increasingly more common and less stigmatized in non-clinical settings. One of my main points is BPD. I came here to speak about my experiences with the Child and Adolescent Mental Health Services and BPD. BPD is a disorder caused by disorganized attachment in childhood. In layman's terms, this means my parental figures did not meet my needs to show me how healthy attachments should go. My experience with BPD is complicated. It's hard to define how exactly this disorder affects my life, only that it is in every aspect of what I do. The people that know how my disorder affects me know just how much it affects me, because my actions caused by my BPD affect them and their lives as well. It's very distressing to me because most mornings I wake up not knowing who I am. I get scared over things that haven't happened yet or a future I may not even have. My BPD causes a lot of identity issues with how I perceive myself and how others perceive me. I want to be the ideal person for the people around me, even if that means destroying who I thought I was. When I went to CAMHS seeking a diagnosis, I wasn't seeking support for BPD. I was seeking support for dissociative disorder named Dissociative Identity Disorder, DID. They shut me down and told me that wasn't something they could help me with until I was 18 and sent me off to another therapist despite me filling the criteria. They said my symptoms were just me being disorganized and having an unstable sense of self. They also told me, my father, all of the things being said within these sessions, which if you know the causes of DID, this was not a good idea. After a multitude of sessions with the psychiatrist, they sent me a letter and told me they did not agree with DID as a potential diagnosis for me and said that they just thought I had BPD. I only had about 3 sessions with this man before they promptly chose to ignore me. After this, I stopped engaging with the service and they did not care enough to reach out to me. I'd explained that they'd broken confidentiality and I no longer felt safe with the service. They took this as me being not cooperative. This year, I've had terrible experiences with them as well. I've had several attempts on my life, and they've done nothing. They wanted to refer me to CBT, which I told them, and which I told them all the past rounds hadn't helped me with BPD or DID and at all, and it was highly distressing that they would not listen. They simply didn't care to reach back out. I don't think that there is anything I can do to fix it, but what we can do is make charity mental health services more open to young people, give them a safe spaces that cater to their mental health issues. We should be a lot more focused on what young people need, because our generation is a generation that repeatedly voices its needs and is repeatedly ignored. A lot of things need to change within the mental health services in the UK, and because it's frankly not good enough. I'm only one person, I can't do much, and I'm barely more than a child. All I can do is use my voice to protest how unacceptable it is to ignore children's needs. Thank you.
Thank you, Charlie. We will now hear from the Refugee Young Leaders Group to speak about why mental health support is so important to them.
Hello, I'm Minas. We are the member of the Young Leaders Group. We present the voice of the young people who are refugee and asylum seekers, who come to the Welcome Wednesday and Thursday Youth Club here at the station. Over the last 2 years, we have been raising awareness and educating others on the issues, the impact on the young refugee living in Bristol, including the young people, the mental health. So, on our four priorities, in order to encourage better support and understanding for the young refugees. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Nuria. These are some of the things that impact on mental health of young refugees. Home office. Waiting a long time for the Home Office to decide whether you can stay in UK can cause stress and anxiety. Difficulties. Sleeping and flashbacks of difficult experience. Language barrier. If you can't speak English, it is difficult to communicate with others. Ask for help and make friends, which leaves people feeling lonely and isolated. Separation from family members, not being able to contact family members and worrying about family back home.
So difficult journeys. For some young people, seeing asylum seeker, there is no safe way to come to the UK. May young refugees come to the UK on small boats or lorries, which is very dangerous. They have to cross the countries illegally and are sometimes exploited or trafficked from one country to others. A challenge of settings into UK, learning a new language, going to new school or college, and integrating into a new country and way of the life in UK. Housing. Lots of young people who refugee and asylum seeker aren't often happy with their accommodation and will often have to wait a long time to access a more permanent house. It is difficult to plan to the future. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Mohammed. These are some barriers young people who are refugee and asylum seekers face in accessing mental health support and services. Number one, education and cultural barriers. Some of the cultures and families that young people are from mean they don't have much knowledge and education about mental health before coming to the UK. It's not something that is spoken about very often, and young people might not be open to talking about their mental health. Two, moving around. Lots of refugee and asylum seekers have to move around the cities or country a lot. This is make it difficult to access mental health support due to the movement from place to place. Three, discrimination and racism. This can mean young people feel afraid to ask for help for psychological condition. Young refugee and asylum seekers may be experience psychological condition that makes them feel anxiety and stress and make it more difficult to access mental health support and services. Thank you.
Hello everyone, my name is Ahmad, and that as my friend mentioned about some of the barrier about the refugees and asylum seeker facing accessing mental health and support or services. The firstly and important thing is the financial factor. I mean, you face difficulties in dealing with the cost of living, accessing food, housing, clothes. This often make priority over your psychological and health needs. And the second thing is understanding the system. And young people who are refugees or asylum seeker don't necessarily know how the system in UK works. It's very new to us and can be complicated to access a doctor or services. And it might be difficult to register with a GP, and this administration is confusing, and often you need to take a long time on queue. And the other thing is language barrier. If you can't speak English, it may put you off using services. You believe there will be no help for you. Most young refugees are struggling to learn how to speak English properly, so they cannot express how they are feeling. Some people may or not be comfortable talking about their mental health issues using an interpreter. Finally, is a professional knowledge. Some professionals lack knowledge or understanding of your background and the knowledges that we have talked about and how to best support us. Thank you.
Thank you to the Refugee Young Leaders Group. We now have our second discussion activity. We would like you to share the barriers young people face to accessing mental health support in the region. You have 15 minutes. We're now going to hear from our key responders, Kevin Sweeney from South Gloucestershire Council and Colin Bradbury from the Integrated Care Board.
So good evening, my name's Kevin Sweeney and I'm the strategic lead for early health in South Gloucester Council. I think, firstly, thank you for allowing us to come along this evening, and I really like the model of adults listening, and I think that theme came out throughout the conversations I heard this evening, because part of our job is to listen, to respond, and I guess my response in terms of what I've heard is that services need to listen to young people, adults need to listen to young people, and we have to get services built around the needs of young people, not what services say young people shouldn't fit services. I just heard a conversation with some young people who were talking about the examples interpreters. but it could be for any adult who says what they think they've heard or what they think a young person should say, rather than accurately representing what a young person says and feels. So I think it's important that services actively listen to young people. There's a key theme around communication. Also, to acknowledge that for some young people at different times in their lives, they're struggling to communicate. So they themselves may know exactly what they're trying to communicate, and they need trusted adults to listen and to help them interpret. Now, whether that's from English is not your first language, or whether language is your first language, but you're still struggling to communicate where you are and how you're feeling. The earlier conversation I heard around, if you like, the perfect services, mental health services for young people, again, echo some of those voices around build services around what young people want, make services fit young people, not young people fit services. And I think part of my role is to go back to South Gloucester and ask ourselves as adults, are we doing that? Are our services meeting the needs of young people? And I guess the challenge for me and our colleagues is to, how do we do that effectively? How do I go back and make sure that I'm not speaking on your behalf, but I'm accurately representing what you're saying? So the thing I'll take back is to go back to South Gloucester, talk to your colleagues and say, what is our feedback from young people? What are young people saying about our services? And what's our actions in response to that? It doesn't mean we're always going to do exactly what you request, but what we should do is hear what you are saying and try and respond. So I guess that's what I've heard this evening. Hopefully that echoes some of the conversations. And again, thank you very much for the opportunity to be here. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name's Colin, and in case you were wondering what the Integrated Care Board is, I work for the NHS, basically. And I work for the bit of the NHS that tries to coordinate services between ambulance, hospitals, general practitioners, GPs, and of course, mental health. And I haven't got a lot to say because I've come here to listen, as Kevin has too. I'd like to thank you for having me this evening, and I thank the Creative Youth Network for inviting me. And it's been a really fascinating and interesting session for me. I think I would just say that we know that mental health services, and particularly mental health services for young people, aren't where they need to be. They need to improve. And I've heard loads of really rich and interesting ideas about how we might do that in the conversations this evening. Some of them are more long-term, such as waiting lists and access, and also as well about prevention, because although we'll always need services for people in the NHS who are in crisis, it is, of course, it can't be argued, I think, that it would be better to prevent and support people before they get to crisis point wherever possible. And we're not very good at doing that. We tend to be quite a reactive service. So we need to do both things. We are investing more in mental health at a faster rate than other services for physical health, but mental health has got a long way to go to catch up, and it's not enough. As well as hearing some more long-term ideas, I've heard some really interesting things about how we might be able to do things quicker and some things that we can do in the short term. Awareness of services, I've heard that not everyone's aware of the services that are available. There is some things that I think services could do to modernise. So, for example, a lot of the people working in them may not have grown up or certainly not received training in things like social media and how that can affect people's well-being and mental health. Reputation as well. If there's a certain perception about a service that we can correct or clarify, then that can be done quickly. But I think the main one I'd say really is what this event is about, which is listening. listening to young people, listening to their ideas and their experience and their opinion. And that's really what I'd like to do. So if you'll have me back, I'd be really grateful to come back and continue the conversation about how together we might be able to continue the work to improve services for everyone in our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin and Colin. We will now go back to AJ, who is a member of our Youth Voice panel. She has recorded a short speech about her experiences of asking for support with her mental health, which we will now listen to.
Hey, my name's AJ. I'm 13 years old, and thank you for listening to my story. Lonely, depressed, exhausted, and when I feel exhausted, I can't leave my room or my bed, and when I feel anxious, I won't be able to talk to no one, and I just have random panic attacks over anything. When I'm sad, I start to self-harm, and when I self-harm, it brings me happiness, where I can just be myself with it, and then it just like is a relief to all my problems. When I am sad, I also think about suicide. This lowers me down a lot more than it should. I was worried about talking to my mum as I didn't want her to be mad at me for something I can't control. I spoke to my 360 worker at school. Her job is to help us with anything that's going on with our lives. So I told her about it all. And then she called my mum and told her what was going on with me. And then when I got home from school, she pulled me into the kitchen and asked why I was doing this to myself and what's been going on. My mum then called the doctors and spoke to the doctors about what was going on. And then the doctors referred me to CAMHS and told them everything. Then a few days later, we had a letter come through from CAMHS, and they said they fobbed me off and said I needed school support. I needed to get referred to somewhere else, as they said it wasn't that important to them. I talked to the school, but they said they couldn't do anything as I needed to get referred to somewhere else. So then I talked to my youth worker. We then made a safety plan and did some of those to off the record and created youth network wellbeing support. For off the record, I have to wait 8 to 11 months to get a one-to-one support. For CYN, I have to wait 8 weeks. I think that 8 to 11 months is too long, especially even if it's 8 weeks, because that's even still long for people with really bad mental health. But young people should be able to get help first, because one day it could be too late. You never actually know. Young people shouldn't have to wait so long and should have more support at school and other places.
Thank you, AJ. Based on today's discussions, we'd like to ask all the listeners to take 5 minutes and make a pledge. How will you take forward the views of young people you've heard today? Please fill in the short template available in your tables, including your name, and it would be great if you could share these on social media with #WeThe33. We'd also like to ask all the young people here today to fill in the feedback form on the tables. Tell us what you enjoyed about tonight and what we could do better next time.